Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times this Saturday, January 9, 2021. For today's editorial, New Vehicle Tariff, a thoughtless, economically harmful move. Obediently bowing to pressure from a small special interest group, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, moved this week to impose what it calls a safeguard duty on imported automobiles and light commercial vehicles, a decision that will only wreak further economic havoc on an important business sector that has already been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. The new punitive tariffs, which will be imposed in the form of pre-delivery bonds in the amount of 70,000 pesos for each imported passenger car and 150,000 pesos for each imported light commercial vehicle, will go into effect on January 20 for an initial period of 200 days. The DTI's decision was brought about by intense lobbying from the Philippine Metal Workers Alliance, a labor group that has been agitating for the protectionist import restriction for more than a year. In justifying its decision, the DTI cited automobile market data from the years 2014 to 2018 that showed while overall vehicle sales increased, the market share of domestically produced vehicles decreased. The DTI also cited a departure of Honda Motors Corporation from the local manufacturing sector in the first quarter of last year, as well as a discontinuation of the local assembly of the Isuzu D-Max light truck in July 2019 as evidence of the damage imports are causing the domestic industry, and suggested that the protectionist measure might attract manufacturers back to the country. While the data reviewed by the DTI is certainly correct, the conclusion that that data indicates a punitive tariff on vehicle imports as an appropriate response is specious at best. The time period of 2014 to 2018 is hardly representative of current or even recent market conditions. Full year 2020 data is not yet available, but data for the year 2019 certainly is. Omitting that simply gives a strong impression that the assessment of the Philippine Metal Workers Alliance's complaint was either lacking in vigor or was less objective than it ought to have been. The implication that the lack of a protective tariff was also at least partly responsible for Honda's and Isuzu's departure from manufacturing is also a bit disingenuous. At the time, neither company attributed their decision to that, but rather explained it in the context of their wider corporate strategy, embracing all their markets. Other industry insiders have since said that a common concern among automobile manufacturers here in the Philippines is the comparatively high cost of production. Even taking into consideration the added costs of importing vehicles, which are considerable even without tariffs, it is still more cost-effective to produce them elsewhere and ship them to the Philippine market than it is to build them here. That problem will not be addressed in any way by the imposition of a safeguard duty. Further restricting market choices for Philippine vehicle buyers through the increased costs for the most popular vehicles will only cause harm to a sector that is already struggling to recover from the pandemic-related economic downturn. This will only lead to a further contraction in the industry and additional job losses, the very things the short-sighted Philippine Metal Workers Alliance and its sympathetic audience at the DTI intend this poor decision to avoid. If the DTI is sincere in its stated aim to help boost the automobile manufacturing industry in this country, and we believe it is, however misguided its latest decision, then it needs to look deeper into the root problems that have prevented it from growing. A discussion of those causes could fill this entire page and still not include the absence of a protective tariff, because such measures only tend to retard the market that, under a rational policy environment, would be the main attractor of new manufacturing investment in the first place. The DTI should reconsider its decision, and failing that, the Tariff Commission, which is set to review the matter over the coming weeks, should reject it. This tariff should never be imposed, and particularly not now, when the automobile sector and the wider economy is only beginning to work toward recovery from a deep recession. And that's the editorial for Saturday, January 9, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.